So I want to thank everybody for being here today for the 2021 Go Virtual Career Panel Career Pathways Conference. I'd like to introduce Marty Anderson from Agc Apprenticeship Program, who's going to talk to you guys today about the value of apprenticeships and how they've collaborated with students and education world here in San Diego County. So Marty, thank you for joining us. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Ernesto. Very quickly, like Ernesto said, I'm Marty Anderson. I'm the apprenticeship coordinator here at the Agc Apprenticeship in San Diego. And I'm going to talk more about the actual apprentice program. But first, I put together just a little PowerPoint. You know, sometimes I could talk about the PowerPoint, but I thought I'd do something that way, give you something to follow along, give you something to look at, rather than just look at my face as I'm talking. But let me start the PowerPoint and we'll get going. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat or speak up if you want. Don't feel shy. Don't worry about interrupting. I take questions as I go. Ernesto's here monitoring the chat. But let's get started with the PowerPoint and we'll go from there. So bear with me for a second. All right. So the Agc Apprenticeship College for Construction Workers. That was the title of my presentation today. And it seems kind of funny, College for Construction Workers, but that I thought about it. I've been teaching for a while. I've been working with the Agc Apprenticeship for over 20 years. The more I thought about it, is like construction or College for Construction Workers. So here's my contact information. I know I can email the slides to Ernesto and he can share them later if you'd like. All right, so first of all, I'll talk about apprenticeship because that's what we're really here to talk about. First, I want to talk about what an apprenticeship is not. It's not a trade school. So there's lots of trade schools out there, but trade schools cost money. And the difference between an apprenticeship and a trade school, they cost you money. You have to pay to go. The training, it's in a classroom or a workshop training only. There's no I shouldn't say hands-up, but no on-the-job training, if you will. So person goes to a trade school. It seems like a good idea if you want to learn a skill. If you want to get into construction, they go, I'll go to a trade school. But honestly, it's going to cost. You're going to get all your training in a classroom. And then once you're done with that, you get your certificate of completion from the trade school for whatever trade that is. You have to go out and look for a job. So this is a little bit different than an apprentice program where you're going to get a job first, and that's on the job training. I'll talk about that some more here in a minute. But yeah, so apprenticeship's not a trade school, much different. Also, I want to say one thing. Being from the trade, I worked out in the field, construction worker for 40 years. And one of the things I noticed is that the construction companies, they respect people from the field more than the people that come out of trade schools. Not to say that a trade school is going to give you good skills, but when you say I learned at a trade school or you say I learned on the job, big difference in the respect you get out there. What else is an apprenticeship not? A labor service, cheap labor. So a lot of contractors look at an apprenticeship and they think of joining an apprenticeship because it's a good way to get cheap labor. That is not what an apprenticeship is about. And when a contractor has that type of an attitude, or that's what they're thinking an apprenticeship is, we don't want them to be part of an apprenticeship. Right? Apprenticeships are not for profit. The Agc Apprenticeship is a nonprofit organization, as majority of the other apprentice programs out there. All right, College for Construction Workers, right? So if you want a career and not a job, you know, most people, they want a career coming out of high school and stuff like that. Anyway, well, I got to get a job, but what do they really want? What do we want to help them with? We want to help them get a career, not just a job. So if you want a career, and a career is something that's going to last your lifetime and help you support yourself and your family, you're going to need to have continuing education. And people coming out of high school, a lot of times they think, well, continuing education is college. And continuing education is a lot of different forms. In this case, I'm going to talk about apprenticeships. Now I'm going to talk about construction apprenticeships. There's lots of apprenticeships out there. President Obama, when he was in office, promoted apprenticeships, not just for construction, but for every aspect of the workforce out there is a new way of educating people. And this will be the way of the future to educate people for most jobs. So an apprenticeship as continuing education, I thought about this and I thought about what we do in apprenticeship. And I think this is a college, although it's not a college at a stationary campus, but it is like college. So that's why I think apprenticeship, construction apprenticeship is college for construction workers. If you want to be a construction worker and you want to make that your career, and we'll talk about later why maybe more people would and should be looking into construction as a career. But if that's what you want to do, you need to get some continuing education. You need to further your education. And that's going to happen on the job. That's going to happen through an apprenticeship the best way. All right, so apprenticeship is college without tuition. There's no costs, right? No cost to join, no long-term costs, no student loans. The largest campus in the country. Apprenticeships, in a sense, have the largest campus in the country because what are apprenticeships? On-the-job training, right? That means you're out on the construction site learning the trade that you're going to do, what your career is going to be. And where are those job sites? They're everywhere, all over San Diego County, all over California, all over the United States. I've even had apprentices in our program work on a federal project, and the federal project was in Japan. So talk about where's the campus? It's any construction site. How big is the campus? Worldwide, in a sense. All right. So what's an apprenticeship? Now, I know most of you probably already know what an apprenticeship is, so bear with me as I go through this, but I'm going to go from the beginning, right? On-the-job training with supplemental classroom instruction. So on-the-job training, they're out there working on a job site. In this case, I'm talking about a construction apprenticeship. They're out there working as a trainee, in this case on a job site, next to a journey person who's training them, who's teaching them, right? And so what better way to learn? Some people are visual, some people are doers, some people learn by watching. Other people can learn things out of a book, but I think a lot of people, and I think more so than we want to admit to, learn better from watching people and being next to people. Also, the thing here too is the person that's training them can watch the trainee or the apprentice and see where they're making mistakes. And remember when they used to be an apprentice and say, hey, look, do it this way or try it that way, or you're not holding your hammer the right way. Or maybe when it comes to welding, hold the rod this way or change the angle in all kinds of different ways. But that's the best thing about on-the-job training. You're out there practicing it, learning it. You have someone next to you who's perfected it. And usually these are the best people out there in the industry. They're journey people who've had a lot of practice and have solidified their position in the industry. So on-the-job training, 90% of their training is on the job. Now, supplemental classroom instruction. Within an apprenticeship, there's always some class time. I'll use the AGC, for example. The first classes we're going to have are safety classes, and safety is a big thing. So we're going to have safety classes, math classes for construction, blueprint reading classes, things like that. So the apprentices will be working on the job for hopefully 40 hours a week. And then they're going to come in the evenings a couple nights a week and do some classes. Like I said, they're going to do their safety classes, math classes, blueprint reading, and they'll also do some shop classes. Although the shop classes aren't where the true training is, it's more just to polish up what they're learning out in the field, and then maybe show them some things that one particular company does that the company they work for at that time might not be doing. All right, so on-the-job training with some classroom instruction. Like I said before, there's no tuition, no cost. They're getting paid to learn because they are working on a construction site. On-the-job training, they are actually working and getting paid to work. So where else can you go to college and get paid to learn without paying up front, without having any fees or any tuition and no student loans? And then on top of that, they're paying you to learn something. This is definitely why apprenticeships are a way to go. Okay, it's the apprentice program's jobs to get the apprentice working. So like I mentioned before with the trade schools, you go to the trade school, They pay their money, they go to class, they get their skill, but afterwards they cut loose with their certificate. Now they have to go find a job. They got to go knock on doors and try to sell themselves and prove that they deserve a spot at some company. Where with an apprentice program, the first thing that we do, or any apprentice program would do, is get the person working. It's on the job training. 90% of the training is on the job. If that's the case, if they're not working, they're not getting trained. So before we even enroll them in any of the supplemental classroom instruction, we want to get them working. So our job is to set that up, to get them with a contractor that has agreed to do on-the-job training, right? So we're going to get them a job up front. So right off the bat, getting paid to learn, they've got a job. If they do well, if they're a dependable worker and they do well, they're going to have that job with that company, hopefully when they get out of the apprentice program. And then along the way, almost every apprentice will wind up working for multiple contractors. One thing, it's good to rotate them and get diversity because it is construction. Work's going to be up and down. So one company might have a contract that might go a couple months or a year. But when that contract runs out, they might have a downtime for a few weeks, a month or whatever. So the apprenticeship program will find the apprentice a job with one of the other contractors that's in the program and continue them working and continue them getting money in their pocket and continuing their education. That's what the apprentice programs do. All right. At the end of the apprentice program or apprenticeship, when they've completed their on-the-job training and their required supplemental classroom instruction, they will get a certificate of completion from the state and federal government. This is like a diploma. In a sense, it's every bit as good as a diploma. It's like a diploma for construction workers. These certificates of completion it's not a journeyman card, it's a certificate of completion of an apprentice program, which recognizes them as completing the required amount of hours and the instruction to be a journey person. In a sense, it is certifying they are journeymen. But the thing about these certificates, they can be taken anywhere in the United States and sometimes other places beyond. Very quickly, the state of California has implemented some new requirements, and one of them is called the Skilled and Trained Workforce Skilled and Trained Workforce Bill or requirement. And on certain projects, certain state-funded projects, they're requiring a percentage of the journeymen working on these projects to have a certificate of completion from an apprentice program. And it's going to be more and more of the state-funded projects. Pretty soon it's going to be all state-funded project, and it's also starting to spread into federal work where they are more and more requiring that the journeymen on these projects will have this certificate of completion. And once again, these certificate of completions don't come from the apprentice program. They come from, in California's case, from the CAC, the California Apprentice Council, or the DAS, Department of Apprentice Standards. They're the ones that certify these people and give out these certificates after they've completed an apprentice program. Another good reason to get into an apprentice program or college for apprenticeship, if you will, if you want to have a career in construction.
And Marty, we do have a question here for you.
Yes.
Can students right out of high school be in the program, or is it for community college students primarily?
Oh, no, this is open to anybody. We do ask that they are a high school graduate, have their diploma or GED, but right out of high school. In fact, I know there's a few students out there, for whatever reason, have accelerated their high school time, and they're getting out of high school at 17 and a half. In fact, I'm not going to get into the long story, but when I graduated, I was 17 and a half. So right out of high school at 17 and a half. So you can actually join the apprentice program at 17 and a half, although you would need a parent or guardian signature. We want them to be 18 with a diploma or GED.
All right, thanks.
All right. All right, so back to what's an apprenticeship. Here's an example of, this is a photo of our training lot here, the AGC training lot. And this is where we are doing some of the supplemental instruction, just like some of our evening classes. This was for our equipment operator apprenticeship. So they're going to be doing similar stuff on the job site. Obviously, they're going to be on the job site learning hands-on how to run the equipment. But in the evenings, or in this case, maybe with the equipment operators, maybe a Saturday, we bring them out and we let them get some extra practice on some of the machines out here. We do have a lot, a 2-acre lot up in Alpine for this. Also in Riverside and Orange County, we also do the same thing. But this is what we do. This is part of the supplemental shop instruction, if you will. All right, so here the apprentices are learning how to do grade checking. We have some apprentices over here with an looks like a backhoe, and then a mini excavator back here. And then this guy here is doing a little slope grading. Anyways, this is some of the supplemental instruction that goes along with what they're doing on the job site. Here's some more. This is some concrete mason or concrete finishers and an apprentice class getting the finer points of finishing concrete. The cool thing about this is that on the job site, they're getting on the job training, they're getting good hands-on training, but they're also schedules to keep on the job site. Here, we can slow down and really take some time and explain what to do, why we're doing things a certain way, how to hold things a certain way, even further than what they're learning on the job site. And except for the concrete drying too fast, we can take a lot of time. But here's just another example of some of the supplemental instruction besides the classroom work that they're going to do besides on the job training. All right, so let's talk about the AGC apprenticeship. That's who I work for. It wouldn't be right if I didn't talk about that. Like I said before, we're a construction apprenticeship here in Southern California. This is our new facility out here in Lakeside, brand new training facility. Notice the sign for Camp NAWIC. I'll talk about that later, but Camp NAWIC, it says the National Association of Women in Construction. So I'll follow up with that at the end. All right, so what are we? We're just like I mentioned before, we are a state and federally approved apprentice program. We serve Southern California. All right, so that's a big area. We have 3 locations, 3 training locations. That's where we do our supplemental instruction. One in Orange County, one in Riverside, and one in San Diego. And actually our San Diego facility is now in Lakeside, our brand new training center there. Like I said, we are state and federally approved. And so anybody going through this program would get those state and federal certificates of completion. All right, we specialize in 7 different trades. There's lots of apprenticeships out there, lots of construction apprenticeships, lots of other apprenticeships. There's even apprenticeships nowadays for like, for the fashion industry, for, I can't think of the proper term right now, but for people that do hair and cosmetology, I guess is what I'm thinking of. And aside from that, there's apprenticeships for all kinds of other stuff. Just besides construction, but the AGC apprenticeship, the apprenticeship that I work for, we specialize in 7 different trades. Got carpentry, cement masons. Cement masons are finishers, cement finishers, the people that form and pour concrete, not masons like to do block work or brick. Drywall slash lather. Drywall lather, in a sense, is not just a drywall installer, but they're also metal stud framers. The metal stud framers will also get welding skills because that's part of how you work with metal. You need to know how to do a little bit of welding. Let me back up here for a second and talk about carpentry. So carpentry, a lot of times when people think of carpentry, they think of people working in wood, framing houses, framing structures. First of all, majority of the contractors, if not all the contractors that work with the AGC apprenticeship are commercial contractors. Very few do houses, frame houses. Although the skills they get are the same skills you would use for a house, but instead of framing up houses, they'd be framing up maybe high-rise apartment buildings, schools. Some schools are still doing wood structures. Also, along with carpentry comes things like door and hardware installation, acoustic ceiling installation, specialties. So a person that gets into the carpentry apprenticeship here is going to learn a little bit of all that. They're going to learn how to obviously frame things. They're going to learn how to set concrete forms. One of the things you'll notice around San Diego right now, if you're from the San Diego area, if not, if you're from one of the other big cities, a lot of the high rises, especially the high rise condos, that go higher than maybe 4 stories. A lot of the, like I said, the high-rise hotels and stuff like that are concrete structures initially, and then they're infilled with some other types of stuff, panelized systems, or maybe metal stud framing and drywall and stuff. But the initial structure itself is concrete. So carpenters will help form and set the forms, I should say, for these buildings. Sometimes that's the floor slabs. Sometimes that's shear walls, stuff like that. So the carpenters are framing that kind of stuff. They, like I said earlier, they're also helping frame structures. So it's a diverse trade. It's not just wood framing for houses. So that's quite an involved trade right there. All right, moving on. Got drywall lather. Those are the people who install drywall, metal stud framing, another form of carpentry. In fact, a lot of times drywall installers and drywall lathers and metal stud framers are considered carpenters. Instead of using wood studs, though, they're using metal studs. Drywall finishers, somebody has to finish that drywall that's installed and make it ready for the painter. Equipment operators, that's another one of the trades that we work with here and we help facilitate. Laborer, so the laborer trade. Now, in case you're not 100% sure with, or have a lot of contact or experience with construction, labor doesn't sound too glamorous. And I kind of wish they would change the name of it, but labor actually is a trade. And a lot of people think labor, especially people coming into an apprentice program, think labor. That sounds like all I'm going to be doing is digging ditches and picking up trash. Although some of those things are part of the labor a job task, there's a lot more to it. A laborer is more like a jack of all trades. They get experience in a little bit of everything. They get a little bit of carpentry. They get a little bit of cement training. They get a little bit of drywall. Yes, they're out there digging trenches, but they're also helping install pipes. They don't get to do the hookup, but they actually get to lay the pipes in the trenches. And they work alongside the equipment operators. They help check grade. So a laborer, a jack of all trades would be a better title, but a laborer apprenticeship and a laborer journeyman is not a bad trade. Laborer journeymen right now are making anywhere from $30 to $50 an hour. The other thing about the labor trade, and it makes sense to me now after years of being out there in the field, I noticed that a lot of people on the job site would be the laborer, the head laborer or whatever on a job site. And they would be the first ones to get there. They were there at the beginning of the project, and they'd always be some of the last people to leave at the end of the project. So they got to see all aspects of the project, from the grading to the setting up of the project, when the grading started, to maybe when a slab was poured for the building as the structure got built up, as the finishes went in, and then all the way down to when the project was finishing up and they're getting ready to hand it over to the new owner. Could be a school district or a hospital or something like that. The laborers would be there for that whole process, watching all this. And I always wondered why. My first thought when I was younger was, why would anybody want to be a laborer? It doesn't seem like, it seems like dead end. I was so wrong. I realized this later. And one reason it helped me realize is that I watched some of the people that were laborer journeymen on the projects when I was an apprentice, 20 years later, were superintendents of companies, project managers of companies, big companies. And I think of it now, it makes perfect sense. They got to see every aspect of the construction process from start to finish. What better person to put in charge of a construction process or a project, let's say. So a laborer is really actually a good trade to get into. And it's actually one of the shorter apprentice programs out there. Yeah. We also do painters. So we have painters. These are the 7 trades that we work with. Now, I mentioned before that there's lots of apprenticeships out there. And so no matter what type of construction somebody's doing, there's an apprenticeship out there for it. Lastly, the Agc Apprenticeship will help other apprentices, will help find other apprentice programs for those with other interests. In other words, if somebody wants to be an electrician, or somebody wants to be a plumber, or somebody wants to be an installer of maybe glass systems, or whatever there might be. Maybe they're doing fiber optics or something like that. There's an apprentice program out there for that. So the Agc Apprenticeship, we're all about apprenticeships. We want to facilitate the people who want to help or want to do one of these trades, or 7, But if they want something else, we're here to help them find an apprentice program to suit them also. So we're here to help promote the industry, and we're here to help anybody who wants to get in construction find their spot and find the right apprentice program. It's something that the Agc Apprentice program will do for anybody if they contact us and say, I want to be this apprentice, or I want to get into this kind of construction. We're here to help them out. And lastly, women in construction. All right, so this is a picture of one of the projects that we did with Camp Maywick. Camp Maywick is something we've done for a few years now, where the National Association of Women in Construction do a 2-week apprenticeship, if you will, where they'll come to our facility. We're lucky enough to host it here in San Diego, and they bring high school and junior high school girls, women, in and show them the different things in construction, and try to open their eyes to the opportunities in construction. So this is one of the projects we did. This actually here, they're building a she shed, if you will. And this actually is going to be I think we're gonna use this for like a animal or dog washing thing. John Hill, dog washing station. So when we were done, or when they were done with this, it was all done, drywall, painted, there was plumbing installed. There were inside, when you walked inside, it was pretty bare inside, but there was a tub and a washing station with all the plumbing and everything. And then we had them, I would say, I should keep saying we did help with it, but the NAWIC people did find homes for these, and so they could actually be put to use. So back to women in construction. Why construction industry needs women? Construction has a perception of being a male-dominant industry. Duh. I started doing construction back in the 1970s. And back then it was every stereotype, very stereotypical attitude you could towards women in construction. They weren't allowed. They didn't fit. Are you kidding me? A woman do construction? Ha ha ha. All those things truly existed, and that was the attitude back then. This is 40 something years later, and those attitudes have changed. We know better. We've made it, the industry itself has made a really conscious effort to change that and invite women into construction. So once again, today, construction is not only open to women, but we need them. Why do we need women? Well, fighting the growing workforce shortage. Everybody hears about the shortage of workers out there. Construction is no different. It was even a problem prior to the pandemic, but even more so now. We need construction workers. And if you think about it, where's all the work going to be in the future? What's coming up? Where's the money being pumped? You look at the infrastructure bills are trying to get passed in Congress. We could debate whether it's good or bad, how much you're spending, but part of that is good. That we do need some of that. We need our infrastructure fixed, and that's where they're focused on putting the money. However much is going to be, it's going to be put into the infrastructure. A lot of that means new construction, fixing our roads, our bridges. There was a report about how bad our bridges are in the United States. We need to redo a bunch of our bridges, our roads. We need to upgrade cities and areas and neighborhoods that have poor internet. That means running pipes, cables, and so on. So there's the future, what's going to drive the economy. And forgive me, but I obviously, I might say I'm biased, but I truly think this is true, not just because it's I'm a construction worker from way back, but I see what's going to drive the economy is construction work. I think that a large part, if not majority of the work out there is going to be in construction for the future. We can see it's happening all over. If we want to have, we got to fix our electric grid. If we want to have all electric cars and so on, which I don't think it's a thing of the future. So anyways, construction is where the work's going to be. We do not have enough workers right now, let alone the surge that's coming all over the United States for construction work. And it is coming. Women have a diversity of ideas. They think differently than men. I've heard this said before that women are more organized than men. And I don't take that to offense. First time I heard, I chuckled a little bit, only because I think, why can't men be organized too? But I honestly think back. And I consider myself nowadays fairly organized, but I owe that to my older sister. My older sister, 14 years older than me, used to make lists and she was super organized. And she told me at one time, if you want to be organized, you got to make lists. Anyways, long story short, she taught me how to be organized. So are women more organized than men? Yeah, I think so. They have a different way of looking at things for sure, which we need. We need that diversity. We need more than one way of looking at things. We can't get stagnant or stale in how we look at things. Women are just as skilled, if not more. I've seen women working out there in the field. We've had women come through our program, and I have to say that the women have every bit as much skill as the men. Sometimes I think it's kind of interesting when I have some of the women in the program come through my blueprint class or whatever. I usually toss it out to the men that, hey, watch out, because the women usually will do better in the classes than the men. And that's not too far from the truth. I like a little challenge out there. A little competition doesn't hurt, but I also need people to open their eyes. Some of those men out there open their eyes that women, they come to class better. They're more dependable. So anyways, there's no reason women can't be in construction where they're invited. We need more men in construction, and it's wide open. It's wide open out there for women in construction. Lastly, that's pretty much all I have for this PowerPoint, but I wanted to show a quick video. And then, is there any questions real quick?
Yeah, Marty, we have one more question here. Is the Women in Construction program only in the summer?
Yes, right now, yes. Now that the National Association of Women in Construction, or NAWIC, they do stuff all year long, but the participation part, their Camp NAWIC is usually the first part of the summer. One reason is because the ladies will come here, or the girls will come here for 2 solid weeks, and they're going to come here like a regular job. They'll come here early in the morning and they leave in the afternoon. So we also give them, or they also give them, a little taste of what it's like to be working, if you had a job, showing up and being on time and spending a day there, stuff like that. So that's one reason why that particular part of the NAWIC program is in the summer. If they want more information about that, they can email me. John Hill here is big working with them. There's other people here that works with the NAWIC people more than I do. We definitely can get anybody who wants more information about that. We can get you in touch with the people at NAWIC. Also, I'm sure if you went and you Googled NAWIC, you'd see it too, but we can also help out with that for anybody who wants to get in touch with the people at NAWIC. All right, lastly, I'm going to try to show a video, so bear with me. It might not come through. Sometimes on Zoom it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on everybody's internet connection. I have a pretty decent one here, so let me close this. And let me see if I can get this. I have a video, like I said here. Let me see here. So here.
While you look up the video there, Marty, I'd like to tell everybody, we do a lot of, the San Diego County Office of Education does a lot of work with AGC as far as trying to promote the opportunities and the programs and services they have. November 15th through the 19th is National Apprenticeship Week. During this week, we will be doing a series of presentations and projects around apprenticeship programs. Marty and AGC will be kind enough to host us on Tuesday, November 16th, around 9 o'clock in the morning, to do a live virtual tour of their training facility. So if you or your students want to learn more about AGC, the type of training that they do, and check out their facility, join us November 16th at 9 a.m. so that you can log in live and look at their training facility. Marty, you ready?
Yeah, so first I wanted to a little segue into this. So I mentioned that this is I like to call it a college for construction workers, and anybody who wanted a career in construction, they should get into an apprentice program. That's the best way. There's other ways that you could be a construction worker, but honestly, nowadays, get into an apprentice program is what I tell everybody. But some people might ask, why be a construction worker? Sometimes it comes with a bad rap. A lot of people think it's just for people who can't make it in college, for unskilled people that are very sharp, and that's farthest from the truth. Construction, to be a good construction worker, you have to have some skills. That's what the apprenticeships will bring out of you and sharpen you on and teach you. Also, if you're not don't have a certain amount of intelligence, you're not going to make it in construction. It's not that easy. You have to think there's math involved and so on and so forth. You don't have to be a math whiz, but I'm just saying that for people to say construction is just for dummies, that's not true at all. The other thing about construction is it really pays a lot. It's something I didn't realize when I was in high school. I graduated from high school, started off going to community college, fell into construction, just to working part-time in construction to help out my brother-in-law. I started realizing how much money was to be made in construction as a worker. And I also realized I was doing something I really, really liked. I liked building things. I liked being a part of that process. And when it was all done, looking back and say, yeah, I had a part in that. And on top of that, I made really, really good money. And not only I made so much money, to put this, after a year and a half, I quit college. My mom wasn't too happy about that, but I started doing construction full time, made a ton of money. And all the time I was in construction and working my way up, I always wondered why it's such a secret. Why doesn't more people know how much money can be made in construction? So for example, a average carpenter journeyman in San Diego is on the average making 30 to 40 bucks an hour. In fact, it's probably closer to 40. Nowadays, probably closer to $40 an hour. Okay, some of the really good journeymen have years of experience are making 50 bucks an hour. So you can figure the average carpenter in San Diego County pays less than if you took the same skills and you went to Los Angeles or San Francisco. It pays a lot more, but also the cost of living is more. But the average carpenter in San Diego County makes $60,000 to $70,000 a year. Average electrician in San Diego County is making $80,000 to $100,000 a year. That is really, really good money. And where else can you get that kind of money without paying a tuition, without having school debts, and learning those skills, getting paid to learn those skills? So that is a really good reason to think about career in construction, that we need to tell everybody and get out there. It really pays good money. Also, the last thing, I'm going to show you this video, and I'll talk about, I'm going to show you about just the construction side and get you an idea of what construction really is. To me, when I ask people, I go to some high schools and I ask the students what do they think construction is. A lot of people are digging ditches, building houses. But to me, this video talks about or shows you what I consider construction. So bear with me. I hope this works. I don't know about the sound. I'll turn up my sound here so maybe you can hear my sound through the speakers. But it's more about just the video itself and what it's showing. So bear with me for a second here. Let me share my screen again. Oh, you are looking at it. I guess I'm still sharing. All right, well, let me start the video then. This is what I consider construction. Yes, building houses, building schools and high-rise apartments, that's construction too, and that's exciting. This is also something that we don't think about. When we think of construction, we should think about these things too, because this is construction also. And I tell you, to be a part of a project like this is super exciting. And you don't know how many hundreds of people is involved, different trades are involved in this one particular project in itself. If I could talk to people out there looking for a career, this is what I would try to show them. This kind of stuff is really exciting. Like I said, I lived it. I got to be part of projects, not necessarily this project, but projects similar, high rises, help build prisons, schools, hospitals, airports. And to be a part of these big projects like this. And when you're all done, the fulfillment you get when you look back and say, yeah, I had a part in that. And to be making good money on top of it, what an awesome way to feed your family. I mentioned earlier about construction driving the economy, about our infrastructure. It being they've kind of it broadened the description of what the infrastructure is. But when I think infrastructure, I think roads, bridges, pipelines, internet cabling. But if you think about where we're heading in the economy, this is where the money's going to go: building bridges, building roads. Right now, one of the biggest projects in San Diego County right now, multi-billion-dollar project, the Pure Water Act, where they're bringing in a new water source from North County into the main city, new pump stations, big giant distribution pipes, all that goes into hooking that up, getting it distributed into the neighborhood and so on. That's construction. So this is, like I said, this is why I would say having a career in construction is an exciting thing. What a way to make a living. So I'll stop it right there. I could go on and on with that kind of stuff, but just wanted to give you an example of what I think construction and what we need to maybe get the word out. This is what construction is also, not just building houses or digging ditches. Aside from that, I don't have anything else. Any questions? If not,
no question, Marty, but perfect timing. We got about 4 minutes left in our session here. So I want to thank you for just great information and on a great program. So like I mentioned, if you want to learn more, you can reach out to Marty. I've also included my contact information. I'd be more than happy to connect you with him if you want to follow up and collaborate with him. A couple of housekeeping notes. I did include a link in the chat for our survey. If you can please click on that, let us know what you thought about this session, and give us your suggestions as to how we can improve this, or what was it that you liked as well. The other thing is I'm going to sort of take over the screen here and put up the certificate of attendance for this particular session. If you guys want to screenshot that just for your own records, you can do so. I'll leave this up here for the next 2 or 3 minutes. If you guys have any more questions, though, right now it's a perfect time to ask so that Marty can answer them. And feel free to unmute yourself if you just want to go ahead and ask yourself, or type it in the chat as well.
Marty, I'm in San Bernardino, up in San Bernardino County.
yes.
Is your program, are your programs up here?
Yes, that's a great question. We have our training facility in Riverside, and it's actually there where the 215 and the 215 and the 60 split right there.
Okay.
And so we're real close, very close to San Bernardino. We do work with Contractor San Bernardino, and we do have an apprentice coordinator just like myself that works up there. His name's Keith. He would be more than happy to help you out if you had any questions, or if you wanted to come visit that facility there. I'm sure they could set that up for you. But yes, we do have a facility in Riverside, and we work very closely with San Bernardino.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions before we sign off? All right. Well, again, Marty, thank you so much for the great presentation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Don't forget to, complete that survey so that we can get your feedback. But again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys joining us today.